Good afternoon, all the participants. So, uh, welcome to session six of the day three FDP program. Myself, Antaraj Panigrahi, Associate Professor, Rao College of Pharmacy. Welcome you all to this program. Now, I would like to invite our principal, sir, Dr. Jagdish Panda, into the session. Sir, hearty welcome to the session, sir.
Thank you, Madam Anita. So, can you invite Madam?
Welcome, madam, to the session. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam, and welcome to this program.
Thank you,
And
sir.
respected today's speaker, Dr. K.S. Soumya Rani, Madam, and participants, delegates, principals, students, and my fellow colleagues. Good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to this a wonderful session by the Dr. K.S. Soumya Rani. This is very good expertise in AI, artificial intelligence. She did many videos and upload in YouTube, and everyone can watch it, and you can understand what depth she is having the knowledge in the usage of the AI tools, especially for the academicians, how it is useful. So that was the main motto of the center FDP for inviting her. With a lot of difficulties, we could get her phone number, and we requested her, and she gladly accepted, and she agreed to take the class. And thank you very much, madam, on behalf of all of us. And delegates, really, you all get a wonderful inputs, insight in this about the topic. And that is AI tools in scientific writing and publishing, which is very essential for all we academicians, and she is expertise. And now, Madam Lakshmi Usha Madam will introduce her biodata, by which you all people understand how much she is commanding work in this area, how much expertise you can understand that what kind of different institutions she is giving the lectures, so by which you can understand. Thank you, madam, once again on behalf of me, my management, and on behalf of me and my colleagues. And now I'll give this to Madam Lakshmi Usha to introduce the today's speaker, Dr. Soumya Rani, madam. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
A very good afternoon to one and all. Myself, Lakshmi Usha, Associate Professor, Raghu College of Pharmacy, take the pleasure to introduce our today's guest, Dr. K.S. Soumya Rani. Uh, Dr. K.S. Soumya Rani, editor, Editage, Catcast Communication, and founder, editor, and reviewer at Saumis_AWW. She is a speaker with 6+ years experience, beginning with my role as a dad young ambassador in 2017. Her other lectures include NEP 2020, a research perspective, AI tools in academic research, writing and publishing, manuscript writing and publishing, science communication, career opportunities in life sciences, fellowships and scholarships to study abroad, women in entrepreneurship, and design thinking. She delivered these lectures at various institutions such as IIT Madras, IIT Hyderabad, NIT Delhi, Warangal, Ramaya Institute of Applied Sciences, PSG Institute of Medical Sciences and Research, VIT Vellore, Parul University, Indian Institute of Management and Commerce, Karnavati University, University of Kerala, and many other reputed institutions. She has an experience of more than 6 years as an editor and 3+ years experience in association with Catcast Communications. She has edited over 1500 plus scientific documents, including research, review, and other article forms, theses, grant applications, annual reports, and science communication content. She is a highly ranked expert editor in the CEO of Biochemistry, Genetics, and Molecular Biology. Last but not the least, she's a young entrepreneur and founder of Savviness AWW, a 2-plus-year-old startup that helps institutions to improve their research footprint through faculty development programs and manuscript editing services. Savviness AWW was one among the very few ventures incubated in the Women's Startup Program at NSR Cell, a wing of Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, and co-incubated with Kerala Startup Mission under the WSP4 program. Thank you, ma'am, and welcome to the session.
Muted, madam. Please unmute yourself. Madam, please unmute yourself, madam.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you for the warm welcome. And it's a pleasure to be here today. Though I don't get to see you in person, it's nice to meet you all virtually, even if it is a bit one way. So, can I go ahead and start sharing my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. I hope my screen is visible and my voice is audible.
Yes, madam. Please continue your presentation.
Yeah, great. Okay, good afternoon then. So, how many of you here recognize this image that you see on the screen? So, this actor is the most well known for his role as Doctor Strange in the Marvel series and also as Sherlock Holmes in one of the best adaptations of this movie. So, this wonderful actor, Benedict Cumberbatch, also went on to do yet another amazing project called The Imitation Game. So, this is a movie that was set in the World War times when the Germans, the Nazis, had an upper hand, and especially because they had this machine called Enigma. Nowadays we have WhatsApp, which is encrypted on both sides, right? So anytime you add a new user to WhatsApp, it says your messages are encrypted and you feel safe and secure. So this technology of encryption once upon a time was a privilege, and it was reserved only for the military communications, and Enigma was the machine that made this possible between the German headquarters and the German troops all over the world. And Enigma was considered as unbreakable, just like how Titanic was considered to be unsinkable. So it is in this juncture that the protagonist of this movie, the hero of this movie, whom Ben very beautifully portrays, Alan Turing, walks into the scene. Alan and his team go on to break the code of Enigma, which kind of helps the Allies win the war, and he is considered as one of the war heroes. And this movie is all about Alan Turing and how he goes about cracking the code. So, why exactly are we talking about movies, world wars, and mathematicians and code breakers? Is simply to drive home the point that Alan Turing was not just an amazing mathematician, but he was also considered as one of the founding fathers of artificial intelligence. So, the times of Alan Turing was like 6 decades ago, 60 years or so at the least, and the terminology and technology of artificial intelligence has existed all through these 60 years. Just that we were not talking about artificial intelligence in our everyday conversations until around 2 years or so ago, thanks to ChatGPT. Artificial intelligence is an umbrella term that encompasses so many different fields. And some of the very visible, well known ones are robotics. And now, thanks to ChatGPT like AI, we know that chatbots are a huge part of artificial intelligence. But AI is not just this, it's much, much more than these chatbots and robotics that we are pretty familiar with. And we cannot talk about AI, be it in scientific writing and publishing or in any other arena, without talking about ChatGPT, because it was ChatGPT that made the widespread use of AI so popular and so visible even with the common man. So ChatGPT was released in November 2022 by this company called OpenAI, and this is basically a chatbot. So I'm sure most of you have had experiences with aggregators like Swiggy, Zomato, for instance, or even Amazon for that matter to a certain extent, where you can ask questions to the customer care, and the customer care entity is taken care of by an artificial intelligence, right? So when you start complaining about your food on Swiggy or Zomato, you're not exactly talking to a person, but rather you're talking to an AI, and the AI responds to your queries to a certain extent. And only when you're fed up of these AI answers, you cannot find the right answer, you push the AI to go find a human to talk to. So we are all very familiar with chatbots. But why are we so excited about this chatbot called ChatGPT and all its cousins like Gemini, like Microsoft Copilot, like Claude? It is because unlike the chatbots on Swiggy or so, which can answer only very limited number of questions, interact with you in very minimal ways, on ChatGPT, imagine what you can do with ChatGPT. So on ChatGPT, you cannot just complain about your food, or rather, you cannot do just that on ChatGPT, maybe, but you can ask any question around your food, around your favorite food. So, what are the ingredients in this food that I love? Where are these ingredients coming from? How are they being cultivated? What is the culture and history behind one of the dishes that I love? And ChatGPT will have answers as long as these answers exist somewhere on the internet. ChatGPT cannot bring you new novel answers, but when the answer exists, it can process the information and bring it back to you depending on the questions that you ask. And ChatGPT can converse with you in more than English. It has a vocabulary in at least 50 different languages, even when it started out, which means even the non English speaking community could use and appreciate what ChatGPT can do for us. And because ChatGPT stood on shoulders of giants like Google, it had already perfected the process of data retrieval. So Google has been a very trusted assistant for more than a decade now. But when ChatGPT walked into the room, we all shifted our loyalty to ChatGPT simply because we are all slightly lazy beings at our core. When you ask a question to Google, yes, it gives you an answer, but then it also gives you tens of thousands of different resources, and it's like, here, go learn and enjoy the reading process. But when you ask the same question to an AI like ChatGPT, it brings you back a very refined, processed answer which you can assimilate pretty easily without having to break around much with your thoughts and intellect. If you want to master these general purpose Gen AI tools, then you should master something called prompt engineering. So, prompt engineering basically refers to you engineering the way you interact with these tools, the questions you ask to these tools, the inclusion exclusion criteria, the conditions you set to these tools so that they go gather information from the right sources, and they also make sure that they cite the right sources, especially when you're using AI for something as serious and formal as scientific writing, for writing your manuscripts, for writing your thesis, for writing your grant applications. You do not want to have errors in the context. You do not want errors in the references, which means the entire process of searching and processing information has to happen accurately. And that is where mastering prompt engineering comes in handy. I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty details of prompt engineering, but make sure that you educate yourself about the different frameworks of prompts that you can use to get the best out of these AI tools. And prompts no longer are just silos, just one single information that you give to the tool, but rather it has to be in the form of a set of flags that guides the tool to take the right path, pick the right information, make sure to document where the information is coming from, and bring it back to you in an accurate form. And all through this journey from point A to point B, the tool is going to need a lot of flags, a lot of guidance. That is exactly what your cascading prompts are. Sequential prompts, where you give multiple prompts all along the process, is going to help these tools do their jobs better. These AI tools, at their core, they are something known as large language models. They are basically tools that can go process through large amounts of information, be it textual information, be it visual information, be it audio visual. They basically process existing information and bring it back to you, which means the quality of information that they have access to affects what the output is. And Parallelly, also that these tools are not exactly creative in the conventional sense. They cannot create something out of nothing. So for the tool to create something, it has to rely on existing information, process the information, and only then bring it back to you. So this is one of the limitations of the AI tools, where they are not per se creative, and they only depend or restructure and reformat existing information. This cannot work well for all forms of research writing. So, where are these tools getting all their information from? So, they basically get their information from the data that humans have generated over the past decades. And we humans are highly biased creatures. The moment someone walks into a room, we have our judgments on them. Even before they open their mouth, even before they express their opinions, we judge them. And look at all our advertisements, look at all our movies and art that we have created. There is clearly a lot of bias. Say, for instance, if I look at 5 different advertisements for hospitals, I'm sure that most of them are going to have the color blue, green dominantly. Right now, hospitals are slowly moving on to using purple, but otherwise, think a decade or so ago, hospitals, it means there's going to be a lot of blue paint, green paint, a lot of people running around in blue and green robes, and you're going to have an image of a doctor wearing a coat, a white coat, probably donning a stethoscope. Though you don't always see doctors donning a stethoscope nowadays, and at least one of the doctors is wearing a spectacle because that is considered a sign of intelligence. And majority of the doctors are male, and majority of the nurses happen to be female, at least though it is quite changing the proportions. These are some of the biases that you can quickly spot on an advertisement for a hospital. As a human, when I look at these advertisements, I know that there is a bias because I have seen real hospitals. But when an AI tool looks at these pictures, it assumes that, okay, so these biased characteristics are general rules. They are the hard and fast rules that have to be followed when creating an advertisement for a hospital. And then it picks out these biases, expands on them, and throws it right back at our faces. One good example is this set of images. So these images were created by an AI tool where you can just give a textual prompt and the text will be converted into an image. When you look at it for the first time, maybe not now, but when you think of this a year ago, we were all super amazed by this capability of AI tools. But then take a pause, take a breath, and look at these images once again. Let's assume we're all sitting somewhere in the US. Even then, do you think all prisoners look like that? Or to rephrase my question, are all prisoners black in the US? How many of you would be treated by a nurse who looks like that? The more important question is, why should a nurse look a certain way and why should a cleaner look something completely different? Where is this bias coming from? This is a set of clearly biased, polarized images. The user did not introduce this bias into their prompts, but the tool has learned these features from existing images, existing advertisements, existing movie clips, and then it has designed these images as a reflection of the human bias that we have incorporated into our data. So, before we venture into exploring AI tools for scientific writing and publishing, it's important to understand that AI is complex. The entire landscape is multi layered and it's evolving every single day. And sometimes we humans do not understand all parts of this evolution, and that calls for a lot of caution alongside the super excitement that we have for these AI tools. So, on that note, though Dr. Lakshmi gave us a wonderful picture of what I do, in my own words, I'm Dr. Saumya, and I enjoy doing 3 things in my life at the moment. And the first is that of being a parent to a 10-year-old daughter and all the stray pets, stray birds, insects. So we grow butterflies, we have grown dogs, a few birds and whatnot. Yeah. So I enjoy doing that with her. The second role is that of being an editor with this company called Editage, which has been around for 20 years, helping researchers publish better, also working with journals to make the publishing process easier. The third role is that of an entrepreneur, where my startup Saumi's Ow works with researchers, faculty such as yourself to improve your publication outcomes. We don't write manuscripts, but then we take over manuscripts right from the first draft, proofread them, make them better structure wise. We also suggest changes technically. Basically, we handhold you through the entire process from the first draft to the final step of publication to make the entire process easier. So we also offer webinars, long form workshops that run for 5 days, 10 days on AI tools, and also the basics of scientific writing and publishing. And as I said, these webinars and workshops are supported by our editing services so that our participants can have continued support over the course of their lifetime through all their publication journeys. So, jumping back into the session, when you look at the life of a researcher or a researcher and faculty, a major part of your life is spent around reading information, reading literature, processing this literature, writing it, or presenting it. What if I can offer you AI tools that can make this part of your life a bit easier, less time consuming, so that you have more time to take care of the rest of your life and also to pursue your personal interests, your hobbies, take care of your family life, and whatnot. So, one of the first places where you can consider using AI is in literature search and review. And when I say literature, literature is not necessarily just the journal articles, the thesis, the review articles, but it could also be something as loosely put together as a Wikipedia article. And as a researcher, when you step into a field, you're expected to know almost everything that has happened, that has been published before you venture into it. And this process of identifying all relevant literature becomes really difficult because we all know how a simple Google search goes. Okay. So, say I just open Google and I type in a few words. I just say butterfly t shirts, for instance, right? And Google is just going to throw so many different results on me and it is going to boggle me. The same thing happens with Google Scholar. Same thing could happen with PubMed. No matter where you do your search, the moment you give a few keywords, the tool, the search engine basically pulls out so much of information, most of which are not relevant to what you're looking. And where do you make this better? How can you make this better? So, one of the first changes you could make in your literature search process is to shift your initial searches away from Google Scholar and into this AI tool called Semantic Scholar or other such similar search engines which rely on AI to bring you lesser number of papers but papers that are more relevant to you. The interface looks pretty much like Google Scholar. The tool also works like Google Scholar. The only difference is while Google Scholar focuses on just keywords, Semantic Scholar focuses on semantics. So, semantics is more than just individual words. It also takes into account the interrelationships between these words and also the frequency, how they are placed, how they are repeated, and so on, which makes you get a much better result. And when I say literature, when I'm talking about my paper, for instance, say I tell you my paper has around 50 references. So the first image in your head is that, okay, so I have a folder sitting somewhere on my desktop. And within the folder, there are a lot of subfolders. And within these folders, there are 50 papers just thrown all across these folders. And when we tend to look at papers as these individual units, we also tend to present them as individual units in our own introduction section, our own literature review sections, which is a very wrong way to synthesize literature. So these papers, the references, the literature that you're talking about, they are not silos. These are interconnected papers. So this basically your literature synthesis is a story that started out when one researcher found out something so novel. Say, for instance, when the DNA structure was discovered for the first time, or Mendel came out with his first paper, though it was not recognized at this time. Say the X-ray images from Rosalind Franklin were published for the first time. So those papers, they are the seminal papers, right? So these seminal papers, they kind of start a story, and then this story progresses through several years. And then as it progresses, there are a lot of sub branches, lot of interesting sub stories that someone else picks up and then continues on it. So when you're trying to synthesize literature, you're basically trying to give a snapshot of this entire story and tell your readers what is lacking, what is not known, which is very important for the community to know. And then you tell them how you're going to fit in and present your own work. So, how do you identify this story? So it all could start from just one simple paper. So you start reading a paper and then you find that, okay, this is pretty interesting. So where is it coming from? How do you trace back the story? You basically look at the references and citations. So the references and citations within papers are one of the simplest connections that exist along these different lines of literature. And just by searching through all the papers and the references, you can identify all of the backward citations. And then, if you look for papers that have cited this paper you're interested in 2017, then you have all the forward citations. And this process of identifying papers by tracking through the references and citations is a pretty manual process. Does not involve much creativity. You just have to go, find the paper, find the abstract, read through it, look for word matches, basically, very redundant process with a set of fixed rules to follow. So, anytime you have a process that has rules, that is repetitive and redundant, and AI can do a much better job than we humans can do. And that is why the process of literature search can be done better with the use of AI tools like litmaps. So, here you can start with a single paper, a handful of keywords, or even a set of papers if you already have them somewhere. And litmaps basically creates what are known as these literature maps, which are based on one or few of the papers that you're interested in. So this is basically a seed map where I have picked one paper, Lange 2023, and within a minute, Litmaps has built an entire set of 20 papers that are not just related to my paper of interest, but also have a lot of interconnections among them, making these 20 papers a good collection to start off with for my topic of interest. And let us say, for the sake of this session, my topic is intermittent fasting. So, after your keto diet, after your Mediterranean diet, your high fat, low carb diet, all those fanciful diets, now definitely there's a lot of talk around intermittent fasting, both positively and negatively. And I am someone who's fond of this lifestyle change, and also to know how it helps in tackling metabolic disorders like insulin resistance, diabetes, for instance. Okay, so now all these papers are talking about intermittent fasting and some liver diseases. So what I see here are just circles, and this AI tool is telling me these papers are related to one another. Okay, how is that going to help me write my literature review? All you have to do is vet each of these papers quickly to see if they are really relevant to your work, and then retain them, delete them, the normal process. So, how do I know what each of these circles represent? All you have to do is just click on the paper you're interested in knowing more about, and right within the interface, you get to read the title, you get to read the abstract. The title is a hyperlink. Click on the title, and if the full text is available, then you're taken to the full text. And if you already have a reference manager like EndNote, Zotero, or Mendeley in place, you can quickly save the paper to your reference manager, because you can collect papers anywhere. You can also save it within Google Scholar, you can save it within Litmaps, you can also save it with few other tools I'll be introducing a bit later. But at the end of the day, for practical reasons, your entire collection has to be within your reference manager. Only then you can quickly cite those references into your own manuscripts, right? So, the next set of tools that I would like to introduce are tools that are touted as good alternatives to Google Scholar, but then they are also good alternatives to general purpose AI tools like ChatGPT, for instance. So, instead of asking your question to ChatGPT, so why not ask my question to ChatGPT? Because ChatGPT was not built for academia. It brings you information more in a very book chapterish way, more of information and less of actual literature synthesis. And ChatGPT has also had instances where it picked up the inaccurate citations, inaccurate references, and until you ask the tool to add references, it does not add references, it only gives you the context. And also, there are a lot other limitations that we discussed, like the bias in information, the basic flaws with LLMs, and so on. So instead, if you ask the question to an academically oriented tool like Consensus, then the tool is going to give you a short summary answer. But this summary will be backed up by the appropriate references. So just below the summary, you'll have all of these 10 papers listed, which makes the summary much more reliable and also usable. Consensus recently introduced this, not recently, it's been a few months now, introduced this feature called Copilot, which has been raved about so much, because The summary is super expanded on the Copilot feature, and every single sentence is validated with a citation, and you just have to hover your mouse over the citation to see what paper it is, or just scroll down. All of these papers, 10, 12 papers, will be listed below, making this summary much more useful. So now this summary looks great. Can I copy paste this summary directly into my manuscript? Yes, go ahead by all means, if you're talking about your first draft or zero draft, however you want to call it. But if you're thinking of copy pasting this content and leaving it untouched in your final manuscript, that might not be a good idea, because just like plagiarism checking tools, we have AI content detectors right now which will detect such AI written content, at least most of it, as written by AI, and that will not sit well with your publishers or with institutions. And more importantly, it is not ethical, at least under the set of ethical guidelines that we go by at the moment. But instead of staring at a blank page, so anytime you want to write a manuscript, you want to write your thesis, the toughest part of it is staring at a blank page and actually putting a few words into it, starting with those few lines, starting with those first few outlines, right? So in such cases, you can of course use this as a crutch to help you overcome the writer's block and actually start writing. But make sure you edit out and actually rephrase all of this content before you go into your final draft. So a second tool where you can ask this question is Elicit. So in Elicit, when you ask the question, Elicit is also going to give you a summary with citations and references. In addition, Elicit will also help you extract very specific data. And when I say data, I'm not talking about numbers. I'm talking about information that resides within a paper in the form of a tabular column. So say I'm looking to find my novel research question, and I have around 100 papers that have been published before me, and I want to see what are the limitations mentioned in these 100 papers, the research gaps mentioned in these 100 papers, so that I can pick one that has still not been addressed, but then a question that has been repeatedly asked and repeatedly emphasized across multiple papers. I can pick those questions and actually work. How do I find these questions? Conventionally, I have to open up hundreds of these PDFs in my PDF reader, and then copy paste all the content pertaining to limitations, research gaps, and then process this on an Excel sheet, or take down notes manually or on a Word document. Now, instead, I can just start with a few keywords. Elicit will find all the related papers for me. I can just add a column called research gap or limitation, and Elicit will extract this very specific information across papers and tabulate it for me in one column, which will make it pretty easier for me to use this information in my own question synthesis or literature synthesis. So writing papers is a difficult job, not easy every day. Then we have yet larger beast called writing systematic reviews. And this requires a lot of help in the way you process literature, take collective decisions. And in such cases, you can try out using this tool called Ryan, which helps to collaborate on something as complex as systematic reviews. So, understanding research papers is not always easy, and we do not enjoy reading papers on all days. Why is that? Two major reasons. One, we do not know the full story. These papers don't start from the basics. They just dive right into the story that they are interested in. And if you're someone who does not know the backstory, you cannot enjoy this paper. And also because papers have their own way of writing. So they have their own formal language, the formal structures. And considering that we don't come from a country where English is our first language, understanding this could get difficult. This is where you can take help from tools like SciSpace Copilot, where the tool does a lot many things, but I'm interested in the reading feature. You can upload a manuscript you're interested in reading, and anytime you do not understand a certain section, just highlight the section, drag your mouse over the section, and you can ask the tool to give you a summary that you can use on your own draft manuscript. You can ask for explain text. The tool will give you a thorough explanation of every single terminology and all the backstory before this particular information came about. And you can also Search for related papers related to just this section of the paper you're interested in. You can also ask very specific questions to the tool. You can, I mean, to the paper. You can pick questions here. You can also give your own questions, and you can also do this with multiple papers when you are on SciSpace. Reading as a habit has lost its shape. We are a generation that is more interested in audiovisual content. We love Instagram reels. We don't even like reading the caption below Instagram reels because reading has gotten a bit boring. Yeah. But we are so interested in video and podcasts. Podcasts have become so catchy nowadays. Nobody reads blog posts anymore. People are like, okay, I listened to a podcast yesterday during my walk and whatnot, right? So why haven't we adapted this technology to reading papers also? Because when you want a paper to be listened to, then it has to be prepared in the form of an audiobook, right? If and papers are not released as audiobooks or audio chapters, they're just released as readable, text readable PDFs. What if you don't actually have to publish papers as audiobooks or audio content, but you can just upload the PDF version of your paper, and an AI will convert this into readable material, or rather it will read out the content for you. And what is interesting is MS Word can actually do this now on your MS Word documents. But when you look at tools like listening.io, they can read out content from more than MS Word. They can even read out proper papers, proper PDF version of the papers, helping you assimilate papers in multiple ways, making you much more efficient. Once you are done reading papers, then you'll have to make these papers into concise notes. So individual papers become notes, and then these multiple notes, they have to be combined together to form one huge story. And this is where you can try out AI tools like Scholarcy, where you can upload a document, convert them into what are known as flashcard summaries. You can use these summaries on your MS Word. You can just download it as a MS Word document. The Tangentially, you can also download these flashcards as a PPT, which means if you have the content for your PPT ready, it could be a research paper, it could be just the content that you put together. Within minutes, you can convert it into a basic skeletal PPT, and then, of course, you'll have to edit, change it to your style, but at least you have the draft. And once you're done taking notes, collecting information and synthesizing your literature, then comes the steps where you have to give your own inputs. You have to write down your results. You have to write down the materials and methods adapted from existing methods and whatnot. Here again, you can take the help of AI tools to avoid having to sit at your screen and type endlessly for hours and days together. Instead, you can have your own personal assistants like AudioPen, for instance, where you can have these tools as an app on your phone. You can dictate your thoughts into these tools, and these tools will convert your thoughts into proper text. You can download it and then add it to your manuscript, add it to your presentation preparation, add it to your class notes, because I'm sure we have a lot many faculty on the session today. You can make your life pretty easier like that. And when it comes to scientific writing, it's not just about the text, it's also equally about the graphics, the images that you add. And here there are two kinds of images. The first is where you have data, and this data is converted into a graph or any kind of an illustration. That is easier, or that we have figured out, because we have amazing tools like SPSS, you have SAS, you have R based tools, you have Python based tools, and so on. It is the second kind of graphic where you have to get slightly creative and convert an idea into an image, and this is not always easy. So that is where you can take inspiration from AI tools. And the word to be underlined here is to take inspiration and not to just create images with AI tools and then add them directly, because AI at the moment, they are good with creating these out of the world kind of experiences. But when you want it to create very mellowed down, scientifically accurate images, then these tools are still struggling a bit. So it is better that you process the idea, get an inspiration out of these tools, and then basically build the image using some of these AI tools. Also, you can just pick up bits and pieces and build them, and always make sure that you declare the use of any of these tools. in all the commotion around these new tools, several of us missed noticing that one of our very own favorite tools that has been around for 10 years has been a great help in creating flyers, posters, PowerPoint presentations, has an AI feature to it. The tool is none other than Canva, and the AI feature is called Magic Studio. So here, Magic Studio gives you an option where you can pick a presentation template from Canva, give a prompt, create all the content for all the slides, and once you're done with the text, you can use Magic Studio to create appropriate images for all of these slides, and done, your presentation is ready in no time, at least the draft. Then you can make your additions to it. So Mind the Graph is yet another tool you should check out for creating your images. So this works for 80 plus popular fields, and it works pretty well for medical sciences, health sciences field, considering that uh, you are towards the allied health sciences field. Mind the Graph can come in really handy. So Mind the Graph and BioRender, both of them are template based tools, which means instead of searching for an image in Google, search for the content you're looking for in BioRender. There are thousands of templates available, right from cell membranes to cellular organelles to this is in case of BioRender. Mind the Graph has both biological images and also images from other fields of engineering, electrical images, and whatnot. And then you can just open a canvas on these tools, add these components one after the other, and you can build your image. Journals are increasingly asking for what are known as graphical abstracts. So now it is no longer sufficient that you write a good abstract. You should also present an image that represents the abstract. So this image cannot be pulled out of your manuscript. It has to be a novel image, and it has to be kind of an all encompassing image which gives you the complete idea of, or at least the key results which you are presenting in your manuscript. Here again, tools like Mind the Graph, BioRender, they can be used for creating graphical abstracts, but then you can also use tools like Tidbit, for instance, which were built exclusively for creating these graphical abstracts. Statistical analysis is definitely not everyone's cup of tea. And can AI make this part easier? Yes, it can, but you should have a basic idea of what your raw data is about. You should have an idea of where you're headed to, what kind of result you're looking for. Then, most of the business analytics tools can develop as research analytics tools. And one of the tools that has a wing that caters to life sciences, medical sciences, health sciences is Tableau. So, this is an AI tool that you can check out for your statistical analysis needs. Managing references does not exactly need an AI tool because we have amazing reference managers like Mendeley, Zotero, and EndNote that can take care of your references and citations. But in case you did not use any of them and are stuck with 50, 100 references, and you're trying to move your manuscript from one journal to the other, and you have to make a complete overhaul of the citations and references, you can try using AI tools like Trix, for instance, where you can upload your paper and Trix will check your citations and references, or you can just copy paste your references into Trix, and Trix has a handful of reference styles which you can use to quickly convert your references. Managing the language issues on manuscripts is definitely a huge pain point for most of the researchers, especially those who do not come from English speaking countries. And one of the very common reviewer comments is to get your manuscript proofread by a native English speaker or from a editing company. That is where we come in. So this is what I do day in and day out, work with manuscripts to improve the language and structure. So are there any AI tools to make this job slightly easier? Of course there are, and one of the first most popular AI tools when it comes to language corrections is Quillbot. But if you're looking for alternatives, PaperPal is a great academic alternative, which has a lot many features that start from helping you write to proofread to checking your manuscript through for plagiarism, for AI content. It has also recently introduced a feature for AI review of your papers that kind of gives you a mock review, helping you get better with your papers. One other tool you can try out. So, PaperPal is from Cactus. it's also a part of where Editage is also a part of Cactus. So I pretty much work for the same company as Paperpal. So Trinka is from yet another language editing company called Enago. This again is a great tool you can check out. In addition to just checking for your language and grammar, there are AI tools that can pretty much write your entire papers from a small prompt. And one of the most popular tools is Jenny. And recently, PaperPal also introduced this AI feature, which has only been getting better in the past few months. And one other tool, SciSpace, also has this AI writing feature. And most of the tools are catching up in introducing an AI feature as a part of their package so that you can have all your research writing requirements met at one single place. Once you're done writing your manuscript, someone has to check if all the components are there. Right from the title to author details to your references to all your declarations. This can also now be outsourced to AI. This is a part of PaperPal where you can use this feature called manuscript check. You can upload your manuscript, and this feature is free. And the tool tells you which sections of your manuscript are good, which sections require your inputs, and this makes it easier for you to make the necessary corrections, make your manuscripts better even before you do your earlier first submission, to help you tide over the threat called desk rejection from the editors. So, no matter how conscious you are in writing your papers, how well you design your papers, how well you take care of the language, once your manuscript goes through the peer review process, we all know the famous reviewer two comments does happen in several of the cases. And if possible, we would all like to avoid that and kind of speed up this entire process of getting our papers published. So, this is where having your papers mock peer reviewed before the actual review can help you fill in all the gaps, fill in the lacuna in your papers, and address these concerns that reviewers might raise even before it goes into the hands of the reviewers, even before your first submission. Here again, AI tools like Paper Wizard can come in handy to help you with a good mock peer review. And with the peer review, you can make the necessary corrections and then go for the submission. No matter if we are talking as a faculty or if we are talking to you as a researcher, making presentation is a quintessential part of academia. And here again, PowerPoint has been a great tool so far, but if you want to pep up your presentation slightly, you can use tools like Canva. If you have not used it before, you can check out another tool called Prezi, which gives you a lot of interactive templates. But then there are also truly AI presentation makers like Dectopus, like Pop AI, like Gamma AI, where all you have to do is maybe just upload a PDF and the tool will convert one or more PDFs into a concise presentation. Or you have to just describe your presentation in a few words, answer a few questions as to who your audience are, how do you want to sound, so on and so forth, and tools like Dectopus create your entire deck, your entire presentation slides in less than a minute most of the times. And if it is a very generic presentation, you can just take the presentation, start presenting. But then if it's a very specific presentation, of course, you have to make a few changes to it. The line between teaching and research is definitely thinning day by day, right? So faculty are no longer expected to teach, but they are also expected to write research proposals, bring in the necessary funding, do the research, and then get it published. So grant writing has become a part of the faculty expectations. And here again, AI tools like Grantable, Grant Boost, you have Hyperwrite, you have Fundwriter. So there are so many AI tools that can come in handy. So how do they work? You start with a small description of your grant idea, and then these tools develop on the idea into a proposal. They also help you create timelines, help you create Gantt charts. Some of these tools can also help you figure out the budget in a very US European context. But at least you get to make a very skeletal structure for almost all the different sections of a grant proposal. And considering that teaching still happens to be a huge part of the faculty job description, Can AI tools help me with my teaching process? Can it make uh, my lesson planning better? Can it make it much easier for me to assign various assessments to my students and also correct it pretty quickly, keep track of their progress? Yes. So you have tools like EduAid AI, Education Copilot, and Gradescope, where between these tools, you get to start from creating your lesson plans. You can create very specific assessments, not just MCQs. You can even set subjective questions and then provide the key to these tools, and they make sure that your student assignments get graded appropriately. These grades are stored, and then you can also get all these fancy graphs, insights into how a student has been doing over the past semester, and so on. No matter how great your research is, how deep your knowledge when it comes to teaching is, at the end of the day, it all boils down to good communication. How well can you communicate these thoughts and ideas to your audience? And here again, AI tools can come in handy to improve your communication. But then these are also great tools you can suggest for your students as they sit for their job interviews, as they sit for their end of the year assessments and so on, or for their thesis defense, for instance. So AI tools like Poised, they basically sit with you on a video call. They assess the way that you speak. Are you giving too many pauses? Are you too fast, too slow? Do you repeat one word too many times? They catch all these pet peeves of yours, basically, and they tell you what you can improve to make you a better communicator in terms of teaching, in terms of presentation, and whatnot. Now that we have ran through so many AI tools, the question is it ethical for me to use these AI tools on my next research paper, on my next teaching assignment, or anywhere else? The answer is yes and no, especially with respect to the use of these AI tools in research writing, in identifying your research, in your literature synthesis, and in actually writing. Be very, very careful, because when you use these tools as assistants, it's great. But when you look at these tools as replacements to yourself as a researcher or as a writer, then maybe you're not headed into the right direction. So, what do institutions have to say about the use of AI tools? I think we are still at a juncture where institutions do not want students to start using AI tools. So, it is kind of a blanket ban in most of the institutions, though several institutions are opening up to the possibility of coming up with more liberal AI use policies, because we cannot keep the students away from AI, and AI is here to stay. So we'll have to teach them how to use it responsibly. But a consensus set of regulations are yet to be had when it comes to institutions. But with publishers, they are clear with a few things. So you cannot add an AI as an author, because an AI cannot be held responsible for the content it creates, and also does not understand ethics in the very human sense, and therefore you cannot add AI as a co-author to one of your papers. And anytime you use AI for more than language editing, for more than proofreading, for more than making a few changes, minor changes, and maybe adding very minimal parts of your illustrations, make sure that you declare the use of these AI tools. I would say anything more than language, go ahead, declare, over declare. It's always better that you do that. And this statement is from Elsevier. I'm sure the statements from other publishers, they pretty much reflect the same information. So you have to give the name of the tool, the purpose why it was used, and then also ensure that you agree to take full responsibility for the entire content of the manuscript, no matter who wrote it, where the content came from. And with the advent of AI content detectors, the entire process of scientific writing and publishing has become a bit more complicated, because these tools, they're still not perfect, which means you never know what they catch as AI written content. Sometimes human written content is also mistakenly flagged as AI written content. Therefore, just like how you pass your manuscript through a plagiarism check before journal submission, also put it through an AI content detection. Turnitin right now has both these features, so you can just throw your manuscripts in, get the report, make necessary changes before you do the actual submission. So this was a small experiment that I did with this AI content detector called CopyLeaks. So I generated some text using an AI called Jenny, pasted it into CopyLeaks. The tool was good. It tells me that 100% of my content was generated by AI. Not bad. But when you have a policing department, you always have a department to, or you always have a back channel, a group of people who want to defy the policing. It's right or wrong is a different political question, not for today. Okay. So when anti-GPT tools, or when tools to detect AI was being developed, there were one other group of AI enthusiasts who were developing something called humanizers, which are basically AI tools that take content produced by an AI tool, rephrases it, restructures in such a way that an AI content detector cannot find out that this text came from an AI. And one of the popular humanizers is Stealth Writer. So I picked the content from Jenny, put it through Stealth Writer, gave me 5 different options. I picked one and put it back into this AI content detector called CopyLeaks. And now the tool tells me that 100% of this text is human generated, though I did not write a single word of this particular content. So, yes, there are loopholes, but then think about the ethical implications. And also, this is great to do it as fun, because this is not going to go through a peer review process. But when a peer reviewer or when an editor looks at content generated by AI and mangled up more and more using few more AI, that will stand out like a sore thumb, and they will realize that something is odd and something is off with this writing. So this is great as fun. You could also use these tools to generate ideas, to rephrase your content, but never as a shortcut to avoid writing your own scientific content. So the world as a whole, it is split on this question of AI. So are AI tools good? Should we let them progress at the pace that they are progressing, or is AI completely bad? Should we stop it in its tracks, and so on? So Elon is on the side of the naysayers. He is an open opponent to AI. He advocates no AI, but even Elon, who hates AI, who does not want AI to develop, starts this company called Neuralink. So Neuralink is this place where the company has already embedded its chips into one of the human brains, and now this human can control all his devices without touching the devices and without actually uttering a command to control any of these devices. And if this is not the next step of human evolution, where humans could be replaced by such humanoids who are a combination of humans and machines, I do not know what is, which means AI is going to be here. AI is going to evolve with us, and we'll have to make quick decisions, smart decisions, and accurate decisions that do justice to our next generations. So the villain here is not AI, it is the decisions that we take and also the priorities that we place. Maybe take the right decisions and prioritize the right things. So if you like this lecture, maybe you'll also like our upcoming 5-day hands-on workshop that will start on September 2. So the registration is open for 2 more days. And if you're interested, you can just drop a message to us and I'll share the brochure with you, which will have all the details. So this is where you can reach me beyond the session. So this QR code will take you to my LinkedIn page, where I write almost 3 days a week. At least I try to write about scientific writing and publishing. And I also curate new tools as they come onto the market. I try them out and I write about them. I also kind of create collections. So say if literature review, I make a group of 5 different tools. I only introduced lit maps today, but on the post you'll see tools like Insightful, Connected Papers, Research Rabbit, you have art discovery, and so on. So this is what I do on LinkedIn, and a lot of interesting conversations also happen on the page. I'm not good with calls, but great with WhatsApp. So if you want the brochure, you can drop a message, or if you also have any other queries, if you're looking for manuscript editing anytime in the future, you can drop a message on WhatsApp. You can also drop us a mail, and one of us from the team will get back to you. And this is the QR code that is going to take you to a feedback link where I would like to hear from you about how you felt about the session today, and also some suggestions from you as well. And for those of you who submit the feedback form, as a note of thanks, I'll be sharing a list of PDF tools, a PDF list of all the tools that we discussed today, and some additional tools as well. So you don't have to rely back on your handwritten notes. You can just use the PDF list as your reference to check out the tools that we discussed today. So, on that note, thank you so much for indulging me for an hour, and I'll be very happy to take questions now. So, I'm just going to leave this on for a second for you to scan the QR. And if there are any questions, I'm not sure how this works. Can the participants unmute Dr. Harini, or will you be taking the questions?
Thank you, madam. That was a very elaborative and very informative session for a faculty who wants to explore the new horizons using your AI research models. And every bit of part of your presentation, every slide was very informative, such that while you are saying, I'm just scrolling through my other tab and checking all this, what they can, how they can be used. So
Okay.
it was a very great session, madam, indeed. So now I would like to call upon our principal sir to tell a few points on this session.
Madam, really, it's amazing as we expected. And I've been telling to all my, all the delegates are kept in a one WhatsApp group. And we have
Okay.
been telling that this would be the best presentation to understand the reality who is really working in this. Okay, because I've been one of the follower to this YouTuber, and Madam especially the best in this line. And as for that one, you've given the wonderful examples. You know, taking the one by one, it was very good. And if you could have been, you've given the one example that how that can be generated by AI, and that how you can be, used can change to the different paths so that you can use in the writing. And similarly, you spoke to about the ethical grounds also. That's also very felt happy because that is also that should be there. A teacher should be not for getting idea is okay, but copying as it is, it is not with a good mentorship. Okay. So, but we can use the idea and we can use the some extent and also other, for teaching and we have covered a lot of things. I have written the many things, everything I have written,
Okay.
and very very happy. And at least one example complete for especially writing a one research paper. We have to start one workshop, madam.
No, we already have it, sir. So we have a 10-day workshop that usually happens in January and June. So that will be online, and it will happen for 10 days where we'll start from the basics. So, how do you pick a topic? How do you pick the right journal? How you don't fall prey to predatory journals? How do you structure the manuscript appropriately using the INRAD structure? And then, what goes into what section? How do you take care of the language issues? So, all this we touch upon both the basics as well as on the AI tools. So, the next workshop will happen in January.
Yeah, definitely, madam. I will support all my faculty members to join in
Sure.
our workshop so that they'll get some more enlight of this, recent tools. Because, as you told that, writing pen are like that. Okay. So I'm also very techy. I've been engaged myself and, understanding even just recently I gone through the journey also. So that's what I told very a few days back only. Earlier, Quillbolt, I opened and how to use the Quillbolt and AI plagiarism and that is also how the Quillbolt is doing and how the fair changes are doing by the Quillbolt. That is also I shown, but you have given very big list. I gave only 4 to 6, but you gave many, And I think what I understood from the different YouTubers, very few, but it is a big list is there. If you could have sent any PDF, that would be better.
Yeah, I'll do
So
that.
we will actually try our level best. And ultimately, as you said that unless you one practice several times, so they will
Right.
not get expertise. So as you are their mentor, so definitely you will help the people. Okay. And thank you,
Sure.
madam. Thank you very much. And now for the question session, if anybody, if anybody is there, please go through that. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir, for your elaborative remarks on this session. So, madam, there are some questions from our fellow faculty. So the first question is displayed on the screen by Dr. Gauri, madam. So, is there is any AI tool for creating pictorial representation of mechanism of chemical reaction? Because she's a chemist.
Okay, okay. Yeah, Dr. Gauri, I have not exactly explored this particular feature, but I know that you can build chemical structures on BioRender and MindyGraph. So they have some template structures which you can use to actually build the reaction. Because when you talk about a reaction, there's a lot of components to it, right? And most of these AI tools, they are not good with mixing these pictorial representation and textual content. So when you ask the AI tool to actually create an illustration with all labeling and all textual content, they don't usually do a good job. They mess up the textual part of it. So I would still suggest that you use tools like BioRender, or use tools like MindTheGraph, and I'm sure there are also others. I cannot really recall something that is specifically for chemistry. So you could pick such an AI tool, pick out the templates, and then build it quickly. I think for now, that is the capability and limitation of AI tools.
Madam, but BioRender gives only 5 free images and that too with
Yeah,
limited space.
yeah, it
So
is not free. Yes. So
that's not possible because
any of the good AI tools, they don't come for free.
I
I
have used
understand.
BioRender where I have picked 3 illustrations for my research paper. And now when I want to go there, so the limit, the size of the pictures has been reduced as well as the number of images has also been reduced recently in
True.
BioRender.
That is true.
So we have another question, madam. Uh, will there be a copyright issue if we use AI for pictorial representation?
So this question is still tricky. So the copyrights are still being figured out, is what I see. When you use tools like MindTheGraph also has an AI component to it, and BioRender, for instance. So these tools, when you go for the pro version, you have the copyright of the images that you create. Though the individual components, they come from a database, the final image you can still have the copyright. But then when you're talking about using AI like Crayon, Midjourney, then the copyright is still a bit controversial at the moment, because though you create it, it comes from a lot of the backend
Process.
data which you don't own. So I think I wouldn't use these images as they are within my manuscript text, not within the text, but you can use them on your presentations. You can use them on your posters, for instance. That uh, could not be a problem in most cases. Yeah.
Thank you, madam. Another question from Sasi Ellam. So, is there
Okay.
any specific AI tool for showing sequence of manufacturing steps?
For which you can try out these flow diagram kind of tools like eDrawMax, for instance. So they have eDraw also has an AI tool right now, which means you can just describe the process step by step, and this will be converted into a flow chart.
So, next question is from Lakshmi Usha Ayal Somayajula. Are there any free AI detecting apps?
If they are free, I don't think they'll be good. Same thing with plagiarism also, right? So a lot of things have to be right for these tools to work. So if they are free, then maybe you'll not have the accurate results. It's always better that you put your papers through an institutional access through Turnitin, because Turnitin right now gives you both the reports, both the plagiarism report as well as the AI content report. Okay, so in
So
writing research content, what extent can we use AI tools? This again, there is no clear number. So even with plagiarism, no journal tells you that there can be 10% plagiarism. But it is a general understanding among the research community that, okay, up to 10-15% of plagiarism is tolerated by most of the journals, most of the conference organizers. Similarly, we don't have a similar number at the moment. So maybe 10% seems like a good stat. So if if your paper shows more than 10% of AI content, then rephrase, restructure before you submit.
So the last question, madam, from Sailaja Rongali, is there is any AI tool to prepare the graphical abstracts if we have given the central idea of our work? Theory
No,
to pictorial representation.
right now it is not like you can just describe everything and the tool can give you a graphical abstract, but you can use tools like biorender again, mind the graph, and tidbit, wherein you can take help of the tool, take help of the existing structures for graphical abstract, but still major part of the construction happens on your side, happens from you.
Thank you, ma'am. And I have a doubt personally. So we have discussed that BioRender and MinDeGraph, and they are not free versions. So when you go for a paid versions, it will be in dollars only. So is there is any Indian AI tool where we can pay
Um,
less?
I think if you have a credit card, then even when the amount is in dollars, it shouldn't be a problem. So you have to just borrow a credit card and make the payment, right? So normally that's how payments work across countries. That is
Yes,
the
ma'am.
only way I can think of right now.
That's right. That's right, ma'am.
Yeah,
So it was very excellent session, and you have clarified the doubts of most of our new researchers. And now I would like to call upon Lakshmi Usha ILSO Miyajula to propose vote of thanks for this session. And before Lakshmi Usha, madam, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yeah, the session was very informative and we learned a lot. We people who have registered recently or we are going with a PhD work, we learned a lot of information for our upcoming thesis. You have given an elaborate information regarding research application of AI tools in writing research content, and you have given a number of examples. We are also we are using some of them and we learned a lot. Thank you so much for this excellent session, ma'am. Thank you.
thank you.
I would like to request our principal sir to present the e-certificate to Dr. Soumya, madam.
Madam,
Yes, yes, sir, I'm here.
this is your certificate, madam. So
Thank you,
I
sir.
proudly present to you. And this is only beginning, perhaps. So in the future, we will have a lot of progress with you. And
Definitely, sir. I look
really,
forward to seeing you all in person sometime.
yes, madam, definitely we invite you. And
Sure.
we make the wonderful 2 days or 3 days workshop where you will engage the people in and around of this coastal Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so around the 15 pharmacy college, not only pharmacy college, anybody can come for such a good course. Okay, so we'll very soon we'll see for the good days, madam. It means very we have to see the many things, examination dates and all many things are there,
Right.
inspection dates, everything we have to take care, and after that only we have to engage.
Definitely, sir.
So, thank you, madam. Thank you very much once again, and we are very happy with this session, and in the future we'll come again.
Thank you.
Madam, we got a question at the end. How much will be the cost of Quillbot?
So if you are thinking in terms of buying a language tool, I wouldn't suggest Quillbot. You can go for PaperPal or Trinka. I would suggest PaperPal, not because I'm associated with PaperPal, but rather because PaperPal has so many different features. And a yearly subscription will cost you less than 6,000. So it is somewhere between 5,000 to 6,000 for the yearly subscription of PaperPal. So that is something you should definitely check out. And even when you compare the features of Quillbot, Trinka, and PaperPal for yourself, you'll see why I suggest PaperPal. So do your own research before investing. But my suggestion is for language, at least, is definitely PaperPal.
And suppose a paper call on behalf of the college if I'll purchase. Will everyone can use, na? No issue, na?
So for that, you have to reach out to the team, sir, because there'll be when you want it as institutional access, then you will have to talk to the team and then come up with the best price and then start using it, because there are limitations on some of the features. So the individual access might not work for the institution.
So that is what. Okay, madam. We will once again we will discuss for the PayPal. Okay, we will take your
Okay.
assistance because you have been doing that, na? So that your expertise can be useful for in that condition. Some of our engineering faculty they are already used the fill both,
Okay.
and we'll check it out, madam.
Sure, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your very elaborative session. So
Thank you.
with this, we'll end the day 3, session 6 of the 5-day online faculty development program. So thank you, dear faculty and researchers, for participating in this faculty development program. So the next session will be conducted on tomorrow, 11 a.m. sharp, and the uh, link will be shared soon in the WhatsApp group. Thank you, everyone.